All right. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the HHC podcast, the sports podcast that you watch for your San Antonio Spurs content. I am your host, Jacob Moreno, and I am here today with all three of my brothers, Josh, Juan, and Chris. Josh, how you been, man?
I'm good, man. Actually, Spurs basketball wise, I've been horrible, but other than that, it's been pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, I hear that. 0-4 week, we got a lot to talk about, and we will be getting into it. But Juan, how you been, man?
Same as Josh. Last Sunday we were feeling pretty good. We predicted 3-1 for the Spurs on the week, and first half of the Toronto game, it looked like we made the right decision, and then everything fell apart. And then Dak Prescott stepped out of bounds on the 2-point conversion, and I don't think I've recovered since that day.
I
But
hear
new week, new week.
that. New week, new us. What about you, Chris? How you been?
Like personally and all that kind of stuff, great, fine. You know what I mean? Can't complain. Spurs game, Spurs wise, it's just it's been our first test of like we've been saying since preseason or whatever, like that we understand that success isn't going to come overnight or whatever. Now it's just the new iteration of, all right, this is what our losses are going to look like. This is what some of our bad losses are going to look like, and like, are you willing to sit through them? You know what I'm saying? So we got our first taste of that this week.
For sure. No, I honestly, I'm in the same boat as everybody. Like, the week was great. My Texas Tech got another good W against Kansas this week, so I was happy to see that. But the Cowboys disappointed me at the beginning of the week. The Spurs through the week. I mean, I'm never gonna be like angry at a winless week, but it was definitely disappointing to see because I mean, all of us went into the week at pretty high, pretty excited for it.
Last year I was excited for winless weeks. This year, no.
No, I mean,
It's how the losses happen like that.
yeah, I think that's probably
Indiana
what's been the most
game.
frustrating.
The Scotty Barn.
Scotty Barnes posterizing Jeremy, right? That was
Yeah, he did.
Uh,
That was horrible, right, dude?
yeah.
Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
Like
So
things
sorry.
like that where it's like, "Bruh, that's not fun." The Minnesota game, that was a good game, and we got to see Wimby and Devin hit some shots, and you competed better than those Indiana games. And what was the other one we got? The New York Knicks game
The
that on
Knicks.
The Knicks.
ESPN. Yeah, but yeah, I agree with Josh. Like I'm not rooting for no 0-4 a week. We're not tanking or nothing like that. I don't mind losing. Like if we competitive, we're learning.
If
But
every game was like the Minnesota game, I would not trip.
yeah, but boy, that Indiana game, they couldn't miss. We were leaving. It was bad. It was bad.
Mm-hmm.
We're good though. We're learning. We're growing.
No, yeah, and like I said, we have a lot to talk about this week because we have our rundown of how these guys have been. We went through an 0-4 week, and I mean, you kind of have to just like see what there is to look from the positives in that, and see what we can do to build off of losing all 4 games in the week, and then. I mean, we saw some other stuff that came out of it. So we had Jeremy talk a little bit on Twitter through just from last night. We had a lot of people on Twitter having some discourse about Keldon Johnson, and I mean, I think we all have our differing opinions that we're all going to be kind of wanting to like hash out today, just about like the players as a whole. So definitely have an exciting episode ahead of us, and I mean, we still have a lot of Spurs basketball to talk about and a lot to look forward to. But Juan, kind of just like jumping off of what you said in terms of the week, man. I mean, it was tough. It was pretty annoying to see. But what stood out to you? What was something that like you liked seeing through the week, and maybe something for the players that like really helped out?
Well, like you said, there really wasn't like too much to enjoy. Kind of sucks to just say that because the Pacers and the Knicks game, sandwiched by like the Toronto game started off right. Like we were coming off those Phoenix games and the team was clicking. We were up 20 at half and we were kind of going through Wemby. I won't lie. I kind of was like I felt good about that. So I put the Cowboys on the main TV and I put the Spurs on the iPad. And then like every time I looked, the lead was just shrinking and shrinking. And then like basically from that second half through the end of the Knicks game, it was just bad basketball. And it looked like a lot of like the stuff we saw with the Clippers loss earlier in the year. But the good things I felt like were just that we're responding. You know, like they came out in that Minnesota game with a bunch of energy, and I liked the way Sean Elliott talked about it. He's like, look, our guys have energy this game, and they're actually moving. We were getting defensive stops. We're running in transition. We were looking for like Wemby early on. I've noticed a couple of stretches throughout the games where we'll run that little like back screen for Wemby to get the ball like on the wing, and like just the fact that we're trying to just get him some touches like planned like plays and stuff like that. I like that. I think Keldon had like 8 assists during the Knicks game. Like there's moments like each player had like some type of bright moments in each game, and like to me it's just starting to finally put that all together. In like a weird way, we look a little more rough than we did last year when we didn't have a generational prospect. But that's just part of like learning how to play with the way this team is built now. I know we'll talk about Keldon later, but like I like the fight in that Minnesota game. I would hope that we had that fight every game, and just you're gonna go against good teams or good players like Anthony Edwards and things like that. You just got to learn from those moments and like see if we can apply that going forward.
No kidding. I mean, there are definitely moments that you look at where you're like, oh man, like we gotta like improve on it or whatever. But then there are also those things where like, I mean, I tweeted it out. I was like, I saw Anthony Edwards hit that 3-point shot over Wemby, and I'm like, what can you do about it? Like, Wemby blocked that shot 9 times out of 10, and pretty much 10 times out of 10, really, whenever we saw him go up for that contest through the year. So for it to be like Anthony Edwards making it, you're just like, well, that's one of the best scorers in the NBA, a dude that's on the come up. Like, I mean, you're not like, you can't be disappointed, but when you see that kind of stuff happen to you, because you're just like, well, eventually we're going to be in those positions where teams are looking at us like, well, what can you do about it whenever Wemby's freaking just running up the court and just hitting fadeaway threes at the end of the game to keep us within winning distance.
Yeah.
So
Also, that reminded me that Minnesota team, they have the number one defense this year. And for that to be our game where we kind of started to find it clicking and like bring that energy, well, I know it's Minnesota, so you don't really think of it like that, but I like the way the guys came out against like a Minnesota team where, the way they looked against us on Friday, like Anthony Edwards is a true number one, and then that's their their hierarchy system. Cat had a good game feeding off of that Ant stuff, and then Rudy Gobert just being in the paint. There was fun little battles between him and Wemby. I know Rudy was throwing Wemby around a couple of times, but
Yeah, he did. He used them elbows, right?
yeah.
He chunked my guy to the ground.
yeah. But Josh, I mean, we're talking about the Minnesota game, but I know there was some stuff that you had just about like the other games, man. Like what have you saw this week that like really popped out to you?
I did miss the Pacers game, and I was at work and I had my headphones in and I was listening to it on the radio, like the Spurs broadcast on the app, right? And it's like it was like a 3 from Buddy Hill, a 3 from Halliburton, a 3, and I was like, what the hell's going on? So I did not see that game, but listening to it, I can't imagine the defense that we were playing. Like, I did see some of the highlights, and I was like, oh, well, dang, Hallie hit the step back, or Buddy was just like some of them threes were in our face, like we were in their grills, and they were still knocking them down. They just had one of those nights. But the New York game, man, it was the same way. They were hitting everything. It was crazy. It's crazy that these guys are going off against us like this. They're having their best games that they're probably gonna have all year. Of course, they had them on us, and on ESPN. But I know Juan was talking about all the good that he saw this weekend. I'm just like a total downer. I'm like, man, I didn't see nothing. I didn't see nothing good. Like we lost all these games. I'll scrap it up. Let's move on. But What can you do, right? We're growing. We're gonna figure it out. Hopefully sooner than later. But I'm ready to put this week behind us.
I hear that. I hear that. I mean, like you said, there's definitely like we want to try to find the positives, but there's also you're always gonna have those moments where you're just like, let's just forget about that stuff.
Yeah,
Forget
I don't
about
wanna
it
look
and move
back at it.
move on from
Yeah,
it.
no
But yeah,
takeaway. But the
Chris,
Minnesota game was good. The
yeah,
Minnesota was entertaining, and Wimby had some good blocks against Rudy and Cat, and he did play good defense. I know he scored 29, but he played really good defensively. Like Devin, he didn't get his 30, but he had another 29, like
his
Wimby,
fourth of his
and
career.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
So like we did play good against Minnesota. That
hmm
was a bright spot.
For sure. And Chris, he talked about our line. We said that we were gonna have 26.5 as the over under. All of us took the over. But like anything that you saw from it that like really stood out for you on the week.
Well, I guess trying to talk positives first. That's kind of seemed like what we're trying to do. Um, I guess maybe you could view it as a negative later on, and maybe as if your expectations are different. But like the fact that we show up and we beat Phoenix the way we did, and had good focus, during those games. It's a little bit encouraging that you could see us like kind of play up to Minnesota a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Um, Indiana one's tough because maybe we had a chance to play up to a team like Indiana, but that also is a game where we don't have Devin Vassell, and so we just don't get off to a good start. And their offense was humming like pretty early on, and so we were really never in it when it came to that one. The Minnesota one, it's like we started off with the good energy, but then they kind of overtook us about halfway through, and then we kind of just stayed behind the rest of the game. So like. I like the idea of us like kind of playing up to the quote unquote better teams. I mean, because like same thing, we played up to Dallas a little bit. We just didn't have the focus and energy or the whatever to close it, right? So that part, it's like okay, hopefully we can kind of continue that. When I think about like New York, the New York game and the Toronto game, like. We were talking about it, the Toronto specifically, of like if it turns into an ugly game, it's not going to be good for us, and that's kind of what it was. You know what I'm saying? That seemed like a winnable game. The New York game seemed like a winnable game. You know what I'm saying? Actually, the New York game felt a lot like the Dallas game, where it was like we didn't really get anything going until it was too late. You know what I'm saying? So it was a fun finish. And maybe when I'm looking at the scores, it looks a little. Well, actually, New York kind of pulled away at the end anyway, but. So I like the idea that we have that extra gear, or we have those moments where we're clicking. You know what I'm saying? They're there, they're in there. So kind of hold on to them, right? Wade through all the other stuff and find those moments. I'm trying to remember any like singular plays that kind of like stuck out, but I'll be honest, that's where I've had the trouble. That's where I had the most trouble this week. Like. I do remember just kind of like the Scotty Barnes like backing us up, and then that dunk off 2 feet, like that kind of stuff, like more than I remember some of the highlights, at least right now.
Well, I can definitely talk to a little bit of the highlights that I do remember. One of the biggest things that I continue to notice is like when we're out in the break, we look not unstoppable, but we definitely look like a huge threat. And it's definitely something that like I really like to see, especially like because and we're gonna talk about it, but like the Jeremy stuff that's been going on, like it's been rough for him to find his way as a point guard in our half guard or not point guard, but just as the point in our half court sets. But when he's out there running in transition, I mean his court vision's like it's there, you can see it. So. It's definitely one thing where I just love seeing the way that like when Trey gets out on the break, it looks a certain way. When Jeremy gets out on the break, it looks a different way, and we attack it in different ways, and it's been nice to see. Trey had that one like in against the Timberwolves, I'm pretty sure, where he just throws that lob to Wemby like on that fast break, and Wemby freaking gets it, throws it right behind him, and he like booms it. Yeah. It's just like, oh my goodness, like you love to see that because like. I don't know who said it, but somebody at some point on Twitter or something like that called Wemby like he looked like a gazelle running in the wild, and I was like, yes, Like, you know, that's whenever I see him getting those dunks like that, I'm like, I think about that. I'm like, there's our alien out there, just kind of
Yeah,
looking
and
different.
Sean said it. Sean said that like he saw that should be the number one. Every single person needs to look up and look for Wimby. It should be number one on the fast break every single time down the floor. And Sean Elliott like
heard him say
reiterated it. He said it like every time we were on a fast break, look for him, look for him. Like he always says it. He always says it. And I just don't see how we haven't picked up on it yet.
I
I
think
know if I
even
was
Doug passed up a three for like the dump down to Wemby
Doug
1-1.
threw it, and that's what I thought he was talking about. Whenever he
Yeah.
caught the ball and threw it backwards, I thought it was
Yeah.
Doug. Maybe I missed the Trey one.
Yeah.
But I
Maybe
know
it was
Doug
Doug.
had the
Oh.
same thing. He threw it to Doug in the corner, and Doug threw it straight to the post, and Wimby caught it and reverse dunked it like nothing,
Yeah.
and then just ran on the court. Like
Yeah.
that. And most people, that's like a career highlight. And Wimby's done it like 3 times this year. Like just to catch the ball and go behind you right on a fast break. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like we miss a lot. As much as you're talking about it, Jake, how we look so good, we've missed so many opportunities.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
like you know, again, it's the growth, right? It's the development of this team. Like,
Yeah.
I think
Sure.
one of the things for me is like, if you would have looked at us from the beginning of the year, then like who would have thought that we were even giving those type of looks to Wemby? Because in those first 2 games, we were not. We weren't trying to give him anything like that. So for us to be giving him those looks now, it's already a good like step forward in that sense. But there's always like more for us to be looking for and looking to be improving on. Which I mean, I think that leads us right into that topic of Jeremy and how that's been looking this year. Because last week we talked about it. We talked about him having the point Sohan experience and seeing what that has looked like. And we've gotten more news about it, and just like whether or not some of the reports are fake. We're seeing stuff about like what Pop says about Wemby, about Sohan, and what Sohan is saying about it for himself, because that's pretty much been like the point of contention all year so far. Just, is this working or not? And so far, in transition it looks good. In the half court setting, it hasn't looked as good. There's flashes. There's for sure flashes, and we're seeing steps that look better. But I don't know. How do you guys feel about Sohan and him running that point right now, and like what that's looking like? Josh, I'll let you start that off.
Yeah, I feel good about it, because I don't think that we need to run him like he doesn't have to be a Chris Paul. He doesn't have to be a Trey Jones even. He doesn't have to set people up like that. He's so big that we need to use him. Like Hubie Brown said it during the New York game. They're like, well, we have a mismatch every time down the floor. You have Jalen Brunson guarding Jeremy Sohan every time down the floor. Like that was the matchup. Jeremy doesn't have to bring the ball. Like, give it to him in the post. And I asked y'all before the show started. You know, Jeremy was our power forward last year, right? So you know, we have a power forward. You have Jalen Brunson guarding your power forward. You know what I mean? Like last year, yeah, he's our point this year. So give it to him and let him make something of that. If they don't bring a double team, if they don't bring a defender, then you're gonna have the Scotty Barnes, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 dribbles and lay the damn ball up. And if Jeremy gets you 20 points like that, and he wins us that game, then that's great. If the Wemby doesn't get his touches, if you know whatever, but that was the mismatch and we were taking advantage of it. Like, I'll take that dub. But to have Jalen Brunson just off the hook that whole game, to have again Mike Conley, I saw he backed down Mike Conley a couple times. He backed down Anthony Edwards. He had him on his back and backed down. I'm like, man, Jeremy could do that against so many other point guards in the league. And I feel like we need to use that to our advantage. And it's not even if Jeremy misses, if they don't bring the double team, then I think that Jeremy is good enough to get his own in the paint. And when they do bring it, he doesn't. If he just throws it up, and you have Zach Collins. You know how many times that I feel like we play good defense, Victor comes over and he contests, they miss it, and then you have somebody there just for the putback. So it was all for naught, right? Like, we play good defense for 20 seconds at the shot clock, and they'll just get a putback dunk. And I feel like we could do the same type of stuff, and we need to use Jeremy like that. That's how I feel. If we're gonna have Jeremy out there running the point, like, use him and take advantage of the smaller guys on the court. So I do think it could work in the long run. I just feel like we haven't like ran our offense through him. Like
it does seem like he's trying to like master whatever kind of post moves he's gonna have. You know what I'm saying? Like he looks like he's attempting that turnaround jumper, 2 hands on the ball. It looks like he's doing like a little turnaround hook. He's getting looks, you know, trying to get down there. But I definitely agree with you of like taking advantage of the mismatch if the point guard mismatch is gonna look like that for sure.
Like and we talked about the 3-point shooting. Like, we have, if Jeremy's, I think honestly, if we have our lineup, Jeremy, Evan, Keldon, like, I trust all those guys to knock down open three. I even at the beginning of the year, I was like, I don't want Zach Collins shooting no damn threes. And then now he's like knocking him down. So I'm like, okay, you know, if that's gonna be his game for the rest of the year, it's gonna be his game. So shoot, you know, if that mismatch is gonna be there, and you're gonna get a wide open three, you know, I guess take it. But I would love to see Jeremy in the post a lot.
Yeah,
against point guards.
I mean, it's certainly like, I think it just goes to the fact that like he's getting those touches at the start, because we're seeing like, again, I'm just using a lot of like what I've seen from, like, I guess like Twitter highlights. You know, it's kind of hard to like, you wanna base this stuff off of like, you know, your own research and all that, but you are seeing a lot of like or I'm seeing a lot of things on Twitter talking about how and with proof of like just how good Jeremy looks whenever he's not the play initiator. Because when the ball starts in a guy like Devin's hands, or even when it starts in Wemby's hands, and you're seeing Jeremy like run those cuts and just the flashes that he would do, that he did a lot last year when he was the power forward for us, like, you see that kind of stuff and you're like, okay, well, that is kind of the better position that he would be at when it comes to scoring. But right now, we're not really looking at him to be the scorer. We're looking at him to facilitate and set up our guys, and that's kind of just like where it hasn't looked too good. But for sure, like, what we definitely saw was like just how much it's kind of been getting to Jeremy. And Juan, I know this is something that you wanted to talk about, just seeing, like, you know, his comments on Twitter, so I'll let you have the floor.
Yeah, so I wanted to definitely touch on like the Twitter stuff. I don't think it's necessarily the worst thing in the world that he's on Twitter. I would prefer him not be like responding to like, especially the annoying freaking people that are on Spurs Twitter, right? I don't want him like, you know, kind of feeding into that hate or whatever. Now, if he can thrive off of that, you know, that's more power for him. But like, I don't know. It's just interesting. We've never really had anybody. I guess what DeJounte would tweet things out. Yeah. And we all know, like, DeJounte would tweet things out. He would see a hater comment or whatever. He would say something. He'd delete it right away. But for the most part, I never really felt like he would like let it get to him, obviously, and then people would use that like as a reason to like go at him even more. But like, other than that, right? I don't feel like we've ever really had like too much of a vocal guy who's like out there doing stuff. I don't know. I don't love it. I don't hate it, but it's just interesting to see that he's responding. He's obviously like seeing it. It's popping up on his Twitter stuff. He might be like looking for it. I know like that a lot of famous people do that, right? They search their own names up. But I don't know. I just don't want him to get like in his head, because he's 20 years old, or he's like Jake's age, and like it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of stuff. This is like the stuff that comes with playing with like a Wemby, with like the LeBron. Everybody sees like the way LeBron's been on how many different teams, and people find a way to hate on every last one of his teammates and point out their deficiencies. Like, not every player is perfect, and like that's like the crazy thing is, like, I don't want our Spurs fans to be the way like LeBron fans are, or Laker fans, where like they want to get rid of and trade every player that doesn't play perfect next to Wemby. It's like, it's a process. You're gonna figure things out, and like, you know what? Sometimes Jeremy misses Wemby, but sometimes Wemby's not fronting the post guy right, and he's not doing everything like that. So Sohan's natural basketball instinct is, all right, well, that's not working. Let's go over here. And people take that offensive, like, well, he's ignoring Wemby. And it's like, no, everybody's learning in this process. And like, I don't know. I just think it's interesting that Jeremy is even responding to people like last night, as of like Sunday, it was like Saturday night or whatever. Like there was like a quote of like Sohan saying something like, he's learning. Sometimes he wants to like, he's like, he's learning through this point guard process. He understands, like it's tough. I feel like he said something like, sometimes I want to quit, but you know what? My coaching staff believes in me. I'm gonna keep fighting or whatever. And like some Spurs fan just took it and said something like, oh, see, Jeremy doesn't even believe in like being like the spot, and I don't blame him. And I don't know, like Jeremy ended up just like quoting and just saying something like, big man, I never said that, or something like that. And it was funny.
Yeah.
But like the other day, like there was one right where he was just like, why don't you come play for me then? Like things like that where like, that's why I don't hate it, is I know Jeremy's got that little bit of a fire to him. He doesn't back down from people. He doesn't back it down from people on the court. So like, it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. I just hope it works out for him in the end. And kind of to like what Josh was saying, like on the court, he needs to start establishing himself against those smaller guards, because like exactly what he said, it's like the problem with Trey Jones. If he doesn't have the ball in his hands, Trey's just sitting in the corner for a spot up three. That never works. It just swings it and we have to do the whole play all over again. And it's the same thing with Jeremy. It's not, because it's the same thing. Trey just like catches the ball in the corner and then he runs and we start the whole swinging process all over again. And if Jeremy was in the corner off of that, if he's not cutting, it would start that process. But if Jeremy has the ball in his hand and it's Devin, Keldon, Zach, Wemby spacing, theoretically, that is what you want. But he needs to establish himself and beat that one-on-one defender to apply pressure to bring that help defense. How many open threes did we give up against freaking Indiana? Because it was just a drive and we would help off the next man and it was Buddy for three. Like, we need Jeremy to start establishing himself against the smaller guards, like Josh said, like the Jalen Brunsons, to where if Mitchell Robinson's coming in, well, Zach Collins can hit a baseline jumper or a three, right? And like, we need to open up the offense through that. And I believe in Sohan. He's obviously it's looked rough at some points, but I feel like people have over exaggerated how like awful we look. We're still like third in the league in assists, so like that's not changed. We're like a league average scoring. I think we're like in the 13 to 17 range of scoring wise. Like we're just fluctuating with that. It's our defense. Our defense has just been terrible this year, and that's why we're losing games. And I feel like people are like,
it's crazy that we add Wemby and our defense got worse.
yeah. And
well, our
so
defense
like
was already historically bad last year. We're just not as historically bad because we have.
I'm just
Wemby
saying,
on this
I don't
on the
remember
team.
like losing by like 40 points 2 times in the first 10 games.
Well,
last
it's
season.
it's just we're 1 year deeper into the where three pointers are the norm. You can see it like well, I mean, honestly, maybe I'm wrong. I haven't looked at numbers, but it just looks like everybody's more willing to just shoot. There's no cap on how many 3-pointers you're gonna shoot. You know what I'm saying? Like no,
Yeah.
for nobody.
Yeah.
And you're right though about like Jeremy, like because Jake was saying like, well, we're not really right now we're focusing on him being a facilitator and him being this, but it's like that is a way to facilitate and initiate is
Yeah,
to,
you see
is to
Draymond-
exploit
you
that
see
mismatch. You know what I'm
Draymond
saying?
do it.
Yeah.
Draymond gets the ball and he has the ball in the post, and sometimes he's not even looking to score. He's like just watching the play. Like, you know, he's like,
Yeah, because
has
he
his
knows
back-
the mismatch is there, or he knows the
Yeah.
drive is there, or the back down's there.
and there's movement. There's movement behind him. He figures that out, and then he goes into what he's gonna do. Like, man, Jeremy could do the same thing. And Jeremy's like, I think he's like underrated in the post, especially if he's gonna have a smaller guy on him. Like some of those, like you were saying, like his moves look so good. Like, I'll live with that. If Jeremy's gonna take, 10, 15 shots right there at the rim with a small guy on them, like, if we
Yeah.
lose like that, oh well.
The
I'll say-
fadeaways, I want to see less of them. If the guy's smaller than him, I don't really want to see the fadeaway. I want
Yeah,
to see him go
go
straight up, go
through.
through him. Yeah, I want to see all that. But I like the fact that you're starting to see some of his what are going to be his preferred shots. You know what I'm saying? So I'm down with that. And then it is true, like we do miss people, but everybody's getting into their bag now about like clipping out and trying to find the talk Spurs basketball, right? And they want to show all the mistakes that we're making and all that kind of stuff. But like there'll be a play where we miss Wimby on a cut to the basket. He's definitely has his hand up. He's definitely got space. But then you look at it and it's like, okay, but it's just like the moment that the screener came to actually set the screen, and that's what triggered the guy coming off the screen, was not in sync with Wemby crashing to the glass. So by the time he gets around the screen, it's not there anymore. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's just little things like that. Like two things can be true. Like we missed him, but also like what happened prior to it or what's happening simultaneous next to him is also happening. You know what I'm saying? Like the ball handler can't like, you got to go through all those progressions. You know what I'm saying? So like, I don't know, like we'll work it out. Well, hopefully, but.
Well, and
I just wanted to touch on, on like I was looking at it. We're 16th in the league in scoring. I mean, we're average, but we're scoring 113 a game. We're giving up 124.9, and I know part of that is because we gave up 150 to the Pacers. But like I think our problem is defense. We're 27th in rebounding. We're averaging 41 rebounds a game, and we're giving up 124 per game. Like. That's the problem. And that's where I think the Jeremy thing should be helping out, is like we should be able to play defense on people a little bit more, one-on-one and help defense. But like we need to crash the boards and play defense, and the offense is going to work itself out. I just feel like people are so exaggerating our problems with Sohan and Keldon and missing Wemby, and I just feel like it's a defensive problem. And like Jake said earlier, when we get defense, we get stops, we get out and run. We're so effective with this team, and it's
or
so
at least
clear.
we give ourselves more transition opportunities. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it just I don't know. I just can't believe how much discourse there is on Twitter about like our offensive problems.
So this is me. So this is me all last year, right? Like I don't. Again, it's not me being a negative whatever about talking about a guy like Zach Collins all year. It's just that's where like if we're talking about how our defense is so bad, our rebounding so bad, who does that start with? You know what I'm saying? I look to the starting center.
I want to say this though.
You know what I'm saying? I look to where our size is. You know what I'm saying?
I looked at Wemby and Zach. Like we need to get boards.
They need to get boards, but at the same time, like exactly what Josh is saying. Like I'm kind of expecting our wings and our guards to, if they're bigger than the guards on the other team, like crash the boards. I feel like I'm not seeing enough of like the 1 through 3 like go and attack the board on defense, and that's like the one thing that I'll say, because because I think we're so like our mindset is, okay, we need to get out in transition, and so if you have 5 guys attacking the board, it is tough for you to try to get out in transition.
That's exactly why our ball handlers and our guards and wings don't go to the glass. But if we know that we want to prioritize running, then we need to box out harder. We need to
need to get the board first.
We need to value that part. And it is in the half court too. I would be interested to see like our second chance opportunities or all that kind of stuff that we give up. We have to be bigger. You know what I'm saying? And somebody was doing this argument, and again, I'm trying my best. Like I'm rooting for everybody, right? And somebody made this argument yesterday about Keldon Johnson, right? And I think they said something like, if he's not shooting this well and he's a liability on defense and he's making these mistakes, well then he shouldn't be starting. And in my head, I was like, I could say all 3 of those things about Zach Collins.
Yeah,
he's a liability on defense. He's not securing rebounds. His offense is taking a long time to get going. If we're gonna need him to be a 3-point shooter, you know what I'm saying, and that he's shown there's gonna be dry spells, you know what I'm saying, like those kind of things. Well, then maybe he shouldn't be starting.
I say that about the whole starting lineup.
You could say that about the whole. Yeah, I was about to say that.
Wimby's
not
maybe
strong. He's not strong enough yet. Like there's been so many times where the Chetty rebound. I can't. What game was that?
The Toronto game where Chetty ripped it out of Wemby's hands.
Chetty ripped it out of Wemby's hands, like.
And we would have won if
Wemby just grabbed the board, right?
Yeah. Nobody really said about that, right? About how Chetty kind of got in the way of it, but anyway.
And it's not his fault. Chetty didn't know, but like he took the ball from Wemby.
As well. Yeah, but like if Wemby, like once Wemby gets stronger, that shouldn't happen. Like he should have secure all those boards. Like yeah, you could say that exactly what you said. 1 through 5, it goes. It's not just Keldon because nobody could guard anybody other than and even Wimby. We talked. Sean talked about Wimby. He jumps a lot. He helps. He
Yes.
over helps a lot. He wants to get. I feel like he wants to get every single block.
Bro, I
A
wonder
lot
if
of
that's like a
the
team
open
thing
shots.
because so much of our 3-point defense comes from you're helping way too freaking much. Why are you so far in? Get
Yeah.
back.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So I wonder if it's just like, is it contagious because he's
And
trying to have energy and we're all trying to have young energy, or is it like a mandated thing? Like not overhelp, but I mean like we need you to be
to come
here. You
help.
know? Yeah, it's like I don't know.
Yeah,
If we
it's
haven't
that
made
for
that
sure.
adjustment, like if Pop hasn't ripped their ass 100 times, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I need to go coach these fools. I be getting mad. I be getting so mad. I just feel like it's so simple sometimes. Like I feel like we overcomplicate things, especially when we have a guy that's
It-
10 foot fucking tall. Like
I
I don't.
wanted to.
But you know what? One adjustment I did like how we did the Wimby zone when he was at the top, and that was fun. That was cool to see. It didn't work too, like, I think we only ran it a couple times, and then Jeremy went to the top. But I would love to do that a lot more. Have Wimby
Yeah.
running out there in the guards because then nobody's gonna shoot. Like, they're not trying to shoot the three. They're trying to pass it out of
Yeah.
the top at least. So that was kind of
Definite-
cool.
Definitely, I agree with like the zone thing. Even though like Sean did point out one play where like Wimmy just had his hands like alligator armed or
Down.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like that's the learning moments, right? You're gonna learn and you're gonna go to film and go like, hey Wimby, just put your arms out and like just get in the habit of
And
putting your
nobody's
arms
gonna throw it by you.
yeah, and so like it's but that's the thing is like people overreact. Okay, like we made a mistake. It's like, well, we're gonna learn, we're gonna grow, and hopefully we learn and grow. But I wanted to point out because like Josh has like said things like, well, if we haven't figured it out by now, I think it's so funny because like Josh, how old are you? You're 30, 30, 33. Jeez, I was gonna say 31.
I thought he said 30.
Yeah.
Boy.
I'll let it be 30.
Well,
let it be
like,
30. I'm 30.
It's kind of insane to think about, but like you might have played more basketball than some of our guys. Like you probably have, right? Like if you think about it, I know these guys are gonna get into the flow where they're gonna be playing 80 games a year.
I get what you're saying. Okay, that I do get that, right? But okay, so who is like Keldon is year what?
You're
I
6.
think he's
Five?
year
Uh,
5.
6?
Other than Jeremy and so
Or
other
5.
than Jeremy and Wimby, right? So we got two, I think, a rookie and a second year player. Devin is what?
22, 23 years old.
Year, but I'm talking about
Year 4.
years wise.
Year
wise.
4.
Yeah, 4.
Year 4. Okay, year 4. Zach is up there, and Keldon's up there. So let's just take our starting 5, and this is NBA basketball, and I get it. Maybe it takes it's probably different than high school and different than just the players, right? But I'm just saying, when you're a rookie, I feel like when you're a rookie, you get stuff instilled into you. When you're as you go, like years wise, you learn every year. Like those guys shouldn't be making a mistake. If Wimby and Jeremy are gonna make those mistakes, I understand. I do understand. But Keldon should not, Devin should not, and Zach should not. By year 4, like if to me, like you are in the NBA, you are if you
Hey,
have,
see that?
we have the greatest coach of all time. Like we do. I 100% believe that. And I feel like if you have not picked up your responsibilities by now, like I know you're gonna make mistakes. You cannot be perfect. You're not gonna play a perfect game, 82 game. Like I understand that, but it's 10 games in, and we have not improved. Like we have not. I
But
don't
like you
think
said, though,
those
it's
guys
just
should be.
it's just 10 games in the bigger picture of like how old they are. Like that's the whole argument like old heads have about like, oh well these kids like we used to go to
Damn.
college till 22. Like we used to go to college till 22 years. Like I'm talking about like Sean Elliott, right? And they go like guys used to come into the league 4 years experience at college, and then like you'd expect more of them. Like Devin is barely getting to that point where he'd be that 4-year graduate. Like that's if you think about it like that, it's like they are learning and they are growing. And some of these, like, it was rookies, especially like, we know as the Spurs, we were pinching our rookies for like Marcos and Bryn Forbes, right? They didn't get 82 games as a rookie. So, like, yeah, they got to learn that rookie year, but they didn't really, like, Devin, it was his sophomore year when we traded Derek White and then we threw Devin in. So, like, he's only really had, this would be his 3rd year. of playing, right? Like it's kind of crazy to think about. I just think it's funny, like because I'm 25, and when somebody said like, oh, like yeah, Devin's 23, I was like, oh shoot, like I'm older than like our core. I think Zach is
Yeah.
20.
Mine is Doug McDermott. They said his age, and I was like, damn, I'm older than Doug McDermott.
Yeah, right. And it's like, what
And
the heck?
Doug's like the oldest guy on the
No,
squad.
I understand. I do. I agree with you. I get it. But I do feel like basketball is like super simple. If I'm at the park and
But
Jake
you
hit
played
two threes
for
and
20
Jake
years
hit
at this
two
point.
threes on me, Jake hits two threes on me, I'm probably gonna go stand with Jacob and not let him shoot no more. It's like, to me, it's so simple. Like, and then and we've done this before. I've yelled at Chris, I've yelled at Jake, I've yelled at you. What the hell are you doing? Why you keep leaving him? Why you keep leaving that guy? It's like, if we had a bench, your ass would have been on the bench already. Like when we're out in the park, like there's no if and or buts. Like that's what I don't get. Like,
Well,
it's
okay,
not
so
hard. It's really not hard.
this is rolling into the topic conversation that I was gonna pull up for Keldon, because again, I think this has just been like the main point of contention that it's been whenever it's come to Keldon, right? And that is, you're a year 5 guy. You're supposed to be a quote unquote veteran, even though he's not even older than
He is
25 years
younger
old. Yeah, like he's supposed to be a veteran on
Younger
this
than you, and
team.
that's it.
He's supposed to be, like all this stuff, but he's not
So like
right
we
now. And
we just think
and
he's plateaued now. Like he can't grow from
yeah,
here.
exactly. And that is like, that's the thing that like I wanted
Who's
to bring
we?
up. Spurs, the
Jake
Spurs.
and his-
No,
Jake and
not
his
Jake,
Spurs
not
Twitter.
Jake. I don't know why we're
Yeah, I think
trying to
Jake.
put me into this.
Everybody that Jake follows on.
As the host of this show, I bring up points for my brothers to try to dispute. So if I am acting as devil's advocate at times, just know that it's not my opinion all the time. But we're seeing
We'll go
Keldon,
check Twitter.
we're seeing Keldon stuff like all that, right? But the thing that I was going to oppose to that is, look at how good Derek White is right now. Look at how good DeJounte's been right now, and even Lonnie Walker. These are 3 guys that
Hey,
that
Lonnie's
were
hooping.
on the Spurs. They were on the Spurs years ago, and yes, we had those people that were trying to say Lonnie Walker's gonna be an all-star. Derek White's gonna be like, the next big thing after the Nuggets series. And we're lucky that DeJounte became an all-star that one year. But like, nobody really like people. There was two like dynamic of a contrast. You were either thinking DeJounte Murray was an all-star, or you were thinking DeJounte Murray was nothing more than a basic role player. But DeJounte was better than a role player, and he ended up being an all-star. Same thing with Lonnie Walker, better than just a basic role player, but he didn't get to that all-star level. He's still progressing though. He's in year 6, I think, and that's like, he's still growing, he's still building, he's still developing right now on his 3rd team,
Coming home. He's gonna come home to San Antonio. I hope y'all know. He said it.
and so
He didn't
like,
say it, but he said it.
even a guy like Derek, who was the 4-year college, or it might have been 3-year, but the 4-year college guy, like, came into the league supposedly like with a lower ceiling, a higher floor, and we saw like what we saw from Derek in the Nugget series. We saw him in the bubble, and we kind of got a good idea, a good feel of what he would be. And then we traded him for his value, and he ended up being better than like what we thought he was going to be, because now he's being an all defensive caliber player and being a 3-point threat that I don't think any of us thought he was going to be after what we saw post bubble. So
I think when you add great players, anybody, when you have like
A better team, right? Like
when you have a better team, it elevates your play. So yeah, he goes to Boston, but he's playing behind
Jason Tatum,
and
Jaylen
Jaylen Brown, and even though Jaylen, they're both probably way younger than him, he's learning things and he's facing those guys every day. So yeah, he's gonna get better. Like, and man, I think if you bring him over now and you let him play, like I talked about him earlier in the season, I would love to have him now. But yeah, when you have a great team around, you're gonna learn. You're just gonna keep on learning. Yeah, you're like a sponge your whole career, I think.
So the point is that like we can't just say that these guys are going to be who they are at year 4, year 5. They can always still get better. Like, there's still not necessarily a hard cap on how good these guys are going to be at all. That's not to say that a guy like Keldon can get 10 times better than what he is, but he can still make that play look a lot more efficient and start cleaning up a lot of things that people are trying to not really show with him right now. Granted, there are things that we can look at. Like, Keldon hasn't been playing up to the level that he did last year. And I think a lot of us were expecting him to look a lot better coming into this year because he wasn't going to be the first option the way that he was last year. That was my whole argument all
Right.
of last year was Keldon Johnson had to be in a bigger role that he didn't have to be in, or that he just wasn't
Yeah.
good enough to
It's
be in.
it's the same thing you're saying about Derek White.
Yeah,
Derek
and
White was shining because he had less responsibility or
yeah,
blah blah blah. So like,
and now
KD
that
had the same
he's had that less
opportunity.
responsibility, it just still hasn't shown how much that he could really, like, I guess, show upon, right?
Yeah,
And
well,
that's
and there is a little bit of fair criticism when he came in and he was very even keeled. He didn't come into the preseason screaming and hollering. He came in very focused, right? And his energy was way more pointed. And he was the one talking about defense and wanting to take pride in the defensive end and talking about wanting to silence people's opinions on him as a defender. And I also I'm right there with you guys. I don't like the verbiage when people say like Keldon Johnson is a bad defender like that. Like when they try to say like that's what he is versus like right now he's not playing good defense and he's and thinking about he's still progressing, right? Like but when he came in kind of having those things for himself, it is okay to kind of hold him to that a little bit and say like, all right, if we know that we're figuring things out on the offensive end and we're trying to figure out the Jeremy thing and the Devin thing and the Wemby thing, well, then what can your thing be? You know what I'm saying? It can be energy and it can be defense. You know what I'm saying? Like you could be the number one option on defense if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, that's a good point right there, Chris, because I think some of the unfair criticisms on Keldon, like offensively, like it's a little out of there, but like I'm gonna tie these points together. Like he's having to adjust to not being the third option. Like Wemby and Devin are ahead of him, and sometimes that focus is Sohan throughout the game with that point guard responsibility. I would argue that Keldon sometimes is the fourth option, and when his
Agreed.
three is not, yeah, when his three is not falling, like it does look like, all right, Keldon, we have to find ways to affect this game, and that's what like a guy like Derek White would thrive at, in my opinion, right? Like, okay, my shot's not falling, I'm gonna lock down somebody. I'm gonna like get after people off of the screens, something like that. Keldon can get after that. But to your point, Chris, okay, if you're gonna be the fourth option on offense, then we have to apply that energy to the
to the
defensive end.
defense.
And I do think that is fair because that's the whole team. The whole team needs to get out of their little like funks. And I feel like I don't know. I've always been like a defense guy, basketball, football. I feel like defense wins championships. I do like would like to start on that side. If most of this team, like, okay, Jeremy, like, it's not looking great offensively, you're having some turnover problems. Well, you still have the other end where you can get after people. And I know Jeremy talked about that in his comments of like, I have to lock their number one guy down and then I have to run the point. Like, it's a lot. That's an adjustment. Well, Keldon's not really having to go through that. Keldon can get after people. Keldon can crush the boards. Um, and at some point, if he's just not good enough, then like we'll get to that point, right? But right now, I feel like a lot of that is unfair. Offensively, the defensive stuff, I do think he can, and I feel like he has. Some of the games he's brought that energy. Um, I know, like Chris said, he liked that Keldon came into the year a little bit more calm and measured, but I don't know if we need like a spark, if we need somebody to be. Well, I don't like that. The first person that came to mind is like a Pat Bev, but like bring like a fire to the defense and be a little bit vocal, be a little bit like antic, like I would like that to be Jeremy. Jeremy's been like an instigator type of guy, but Jeremy's
Hmm.
going through his own thing right now too. I don't know. But I
Don't
definitely
remember
saw
Bruce Bowen, right? He would lock the other guys up, and I felt like anything we got from him on the offensive side was just like
The plus,
a little bonus,
the
man.
additional.
Yeah,
100%. And I want to talk on that too, Juan. Like that, you're kind of talking about like the funk. I definitely think confidence has been like an issue for a lot of our guys, not just Jeremy. Keldon has, like, you can kind of see it out there, and especially in Malachi. We haven't really talked about our bench too much, but Malachi has not had like that great of a season right now. He gets looks. He gets so many good looks, and for sure, like for me, like I see him and I'm like, oh, they're gonna start to come down eventually. Like he's gonna start
Hopefully it's just
to
a
get
slump.
out of that slump, because I mean we saw it we saw it his freshman year, his first season in the league. Like it was there were times where he looked like man could be a 25 point per game scorer on our bench, a spark plug like that. And there were times where, all right, he's only giving you 6 points a night. What else can you do, Malachi? So,
Mhm.
it's just like it's definitely been something that we've seen before, and there's no reason for people to try to count him out already. He's literally in his second year in the league, and he's learning to be the sixth man scorer off the bench. So, I mean, it's like that's like I definitely think it's a confidence thing. And then again, you're
Like an
like this,
adjustment, right? Like they're having to learn, and
yeah,
so sometimes it wavers. Like, okay,
and
well maybe they're not as
and
sure.
it's a new age. It's a new age because exactly what you were talking about with the Jeremy responding. We saw weeks ago. Juan on Twitter had like tweeted about Malachi, and Malachi DM'd him like he's like, hey man, like keep talking your mess kind of stuff, right? And it's just like, I mean, it feeds into it, right? It feeds into it because it makes people want to say more about it, but also you don't know what's going through these guys' minds. You don't know if that was like good motivation for Malachi, or if that is something that like he should kind of get off Twitter for a little bit and start focusing a little bit more on the ball game so that he can get out of that slump. So
Hmm.
definitely something that like, I mean, it's a new age. We have a lot of guys that grew up with the social media, so gotta expect it at this point that that more and more of them are gonna start talking on social media. We just have some of the guys that like don't necessarily get on social media as much.
Like my
So
boy Doug McBuckets. I don't even know if
mhm.
he has a. I think every time they put him in the starting lineup, they just have his name, not a handle.
Oh, no handle.
Yeah.
He got some he probably got some burner.
Right.
But
I call
it's
Doug
definitely
buckets.
definitely like I see that confidence issue, and that's something that I think that like these guys, like it was unexpected for me to like kind of see us come out of the gate with that. But once we kind of get through it, once we start to understand what this team looks like a lot more, it's going to be a lot better. I think it's going to look a lot better for us because we're going to be able to start seeing things fall together a lot easily once Jeremy gets out of that funk, once Keldon gets out of the funk, and once Malachi starts to get in groove. So I
Hmm.
mean, is Chris, are there any other players? It's like specifically on the bench, I guess, because we talked about Jeremy. Devin was hurt, and I mean he came back a little rough, but then like he smoothed it out like literally within the week. Um, Obviously we talk about like how Wemby is every week. We had our Keldon struggles, and then we even had our Zach discussion, but we haven't really jumped on like what the benches look like, and even like what it can look like later this week, because we know that Trey Jones is questionable. But Chris, is there anything on the bench that you've kind of been seeing that stood out?
Well, I mean, it's just said he keeps doing his thing, right? We're just still in the era of like, do we want to do we feel excited on nights that we have to rely on Doug McDermott and Chetty Osman to be our energy, to be our most productive players? And we have had a couple games this year, right, where Chetty is like top of the list, or Doug in terms of just production. So it's just like, do you like that or do you not like that, right? Because that just means that either A, our guys aren't producing, or they don't have the energy, right, or they don't have the whatever. So it's still a little bit disappointing that like the few moments that like Champagne has gotten in, that he hasn't been able to hit shots. You know what I mean? Because the things that we saw from him last year, he just looked so comfortable doing them. So like you would hope that he could carry some of that over. He just seems like he has like good comfortability with his game. He just hasn't been able to hit a lot. Um, I mean, I am really focused on our young guys, right? In the first like 8 people in our roster. There will be days where we get to see more Champagne and more Mamu, and maybe even bringing over like Sissoko over from Austin and like that kind of stuff. Wesley, to be honest, I mean, I like the fact that he's with us, but it's like almost like should we put him back in Austin so we can see him play more and see what he's got or whatever. Now with Trey being out, we might just we might need to keep him around. But
Right.
yeah, I mean,
Has he gotten any run at all this year?
I think
Blake
he
got
got
in
in
a
garbage
little.
time. Garbage
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah.
the New York game. I thought I
Yeah.
saw him in.
No, for sure.
I thought I saw him one for sure.
Same thing. Like Mamu's minutes have been like very, very far in between. Same thing with Barlow. So like those we haven't really seen them. You know what I'm saying? That they have not really been playing. But yeah. I was gonna say one other thing off of what Juan and Josh were saying, but I kind of forgot. So we'll just keep moving forward.
To just wrap up that. Sorry, Jake. To wrap up that Keldon stuff, like we see on Twitter, I do think that stuff is kind of ridiculous for 10 games in, and it's getting rid of Jeremy, it's getting rid of Keldon, all that type of stuff. It's insane. Like they want to trade him now. Like I get people want like a point guard, and like people are trying to get like trades. Like theoretically, like I saw like a thing is saying like, well, if the Thunder wanted Keldon, we get Josh Giddey, right? Like a trade thing like that. And like it kind of made sense for the Thunder. They replace like, Shea could be their point guard. I don't know who their 2 is, but Keldon would fit in at the 3 where they're missing a 3, right? And it's like, oh, cool. Like, that kind of is like a cool theoretical. But then I saw it was like a Spurs fan that tweeted it, and I was like, never mind, get this out of here. Like, I thought it was like a Thunder fan, like saying like, let's get rid of Giddey to get a forward that can be productive. And I was like, oh, cool. Like players want or other fans want like our players. No, it was a Spurs fan trying to get rid of Keldon and get a top 5 pick from the Thunder, and it's like that's not realistic.
But if you're a Thunder fan, do you think it's realistic to want to give up Giddey?
Well, I don't know. That's why I didn't know if there was any problems. I was like, maybe Giddey's not fitting in with like their new core because that Shea is just an All NBA guy, and then like you have your 5 with Chet now and the J Dub. He's been pretty good. And I was like, well, maybe Giddey's like an odd man out, like over there. Maybe like
Okay. So and it's not, and you didn't even mention his production, right? You just said kind of like where he's slotting in his team based off of other things. We just talked about how sometimes it feels like Keldon gets slotted into that almost like a 3rd or 4th option. So it's like, could you see somebody rationalizing a guy that is maybe starting to seem in moments like the odd man out, traded for a guy that would help a position? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
like
that's why I was like, oh, cool. Like I could kind of see that from a Thunder fan's perspective. I was like, oh,
I'm talking about from a Spurs point of view. Could you see how somebody could see Keldon like that?
Yeah, I could see that. But then like the idea that we're just 10 games into this, I was just like, well, I don't want to do like a trade like this. But definitely not this one. I don't think anything.
Agreed. I'm just asking, like, you can see where, it's fun. I don't mind the speculation. I don't mind the speculation, right? And just talking about it. Like, what if this happened? What if this happened? I don't care. As long as we're not attacking the, this needs to happen because this guy is garbage and blah blah blah. Like
the train I was on when we won the lottery, and we've talked about this on the podcast before. I did kind of want us to package a bunch of picks together and get a top 5 pick. If we had that Thompson twin from Detroit,
dude, that's what I said.
From Detroit on this team right now, like I would have been okay with us shipping off a player and picks for the top 5 pick to get that Thompson twin, because he is exactly what we need. Is just defense, rebounding. He's blocking shots. He's had more like.
He's almost tying the lead in blocks, like rookie wise, with Wemby and Chet.
He's definitely he's got more offensive top rebounds. 5. Yeah, he's in top 5 of blocks for guards right now, or something like that. Like
he's got more offensive rebounds than Wemby and Chet combined. Like he is everything we could have. Like we need on this team, right? At that guard position, and he's got size now. I don't think that guy could shoot at all.
He can't.
But it would be another problem in that aspect. But at least we'd be, getting stops. And like if we would have had to have sacrificed Keldon for that, like it would have hurt. It would have been just like the Derek trade, the DeJounte trade. Like
you'd have been upset. You'd have been sad.
It would have hurt. The
George Hill. You're like, we're gonna get rid of our favorite player for Kawhi.
Yeah.
Who the hell is Kawhi?
Yeah, and it was that's a way better example right there. Like it would have hurt my heart.
It was a fan favorite. Yeah, the fan favorite. You ship the fan favorite out for somebody you don't know, and then He's the love of
Now,
your life.
yeah, exactly. If there is something like that going into next year's draft, then I'm probably still open for that possibility again of like having two top 10 picks because that Toronto pick might be, hopefully, is right, like late lottery type thing, and then our pick, wherever we might fall, right? So that is just something that I'll keep an eye on, but I don't know. I get what you're saying, Chris. Like, it is just speculation. If Keldon's an odd man out, you start to do that. But I feel like some of the things I've seen on Twitter of why they want to get rid of Keldon is kind of
Agreed.
like emotional and
It,
um yeah.
it's definitely again one of those things where it's just because of how he looks right now. And if I mean if Keldon was shooting 35%, if Keldon was shooting 40% from three, like things like that, where like if something was working for him right now, then nobody would be even having this conversation. But it's not working right now, so they're trying to have the conversation, and that's like again just like the dynamic, like the how I guess like the seesaw will go up and down, right? Either you love him one day or you despise him the next day because I mean not everyone's Wemby, not everyone's a lock on this team, so it's just like
Now I will say, like, speculation wise, and this is changing the subject a little bit, but speculation wise and just like what have I seen from the bench and that kind of stuff, like I wouldn't mind if, because I don't ever see a day where you're gonna find yourselves where, like where I talked about Chetty and Doug, I don't ever see a day where you're gonna have Charles Bassey leading the energy and the production from your bench. You know what I'm saying? Like I mean, I don't see that happening. I don't. Maybe Dom's got a high motor. He really does, and he likes to try hard. He reminds me a lot of like Drew Eubanks, right? Drew Eubanks is always going out there and playing at 100 miles an hour, or just like wanting to give that much energy. So like, I would like to say that, and same thing from like Mamu. Like Mamu tries hard too, but just I don't know. We haven't given them any time at all. It's like, could we find a way to improve ourselves in the backup center position where we could have a day where our backup center is helping to steady the group a little bit, like Doug has done a little, like Chetty has done a little bit.
I
Be
mean
into that.
it's
I would be into
certainly
a small move that can kind of shore up our bench and just give us a little bit more purity when it comes to like our defense. You know what I'm saying? Like our starting bigs aren't doing it,
You know,
and on top of our starting bigs not doing it, they're doing more than our backup bigs are. I bet. You know what I'm saying? So like,
we need a Tyson Chandler to our Dirk. Like, we need that five. And I love Zach, and I think he's great. But we like like you said, like, well, if Zach's not bringing the boards, the defense, and Bassey's coming off the bench and not bringing the boards and the defense, if we can get that type of rim running defensive big, you're muted. But I know I probably know who you're talking about. Jalen, you talking about Jalen Duran?
Oh yeah, but that's a young. No.
Either him or Derek. Like,
JaVale McGee. Remember
Yeah,
JaVale McGee was just floating out there, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, Wimby and JaVale. That's
yeah, but
huge-ass
JaVale's
dudes,
old
like,
now. Like that's not like that's something
if
that
we
like
don't need him to
if
play
we
30
had
minutes a game.
if we had this team 5 years ago and JaVale was there, then yes. But JaVale's old.
Tyson-
Like that's
Tyson-
not the
wasn't
type
Tyson
of looks
Chandler
that
older?
you're trying to get right now. Like
Tyson Chandler when he won with the Mavs. I don't know.
like
Yeah,
don't
'cause
I would
need-
say
we don't-
I would say
we
I
don't
would
need
say
him to be a
Tyson
number
Chandler
one,
Tyson
two, three,
Chandler when
four,
he won
five,
with the
six,
Mavs would
7.
probably be the same as JaVale McGee when he won with the Warriors, which is 5 years
no,
ago.
okay. But we're not winning a championship this year. We just need a guy to.
But that's what like I'm
Just-
just saying like when you say like I don't think there was anybody out there this year unless we like literally made the trade to get a Jalen Duran or like a young guy to build up with.
The Mavs
was-
pick. They got Lively
Yeah,
at
Derek Lively
9,
at
or
9.
something
Like
like that.
if there was something that we did to get like a young guy like that, yeah, but there was nobody really on the market, at least like in terms of just like who's in the league right now, that I would have been
Tyson
like,
Chandler
yes,
was 29
let's-
years old in 2011.
Oh, see, so that's even younger than what I'm pretty sure JaVale is. I don't
Yeah,
even know
yeah.
how old
But
JaVale
by,
is
by,
right now.
by the time JaVale was with Golden State, I would imagine he was well, like at least 34, 33.
Yeah, so
But regardless, like upgrading to where you just have somebody there that has a little bit more size, a little bit more energy, a little bit more, maybe a vet, right? That has a little bit more focus or just control, you know what I mean? Like knowledge, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I would definitely would be open for that. I had this tweet that has been in the draft since last year. And it's about Zach Collins. That's why I didn't tweet it, because I was like, okay, every time I talk about him, people say that I'm hating on him. So I
You are.
just said I put Zach Collins as a stopgap starter in another rebuilding year. Thumbs up. Zach Collins as the main pressure relief for Wemby, and it was like, oh, I don't know about that, right? So it's like that's kind of what it is. It's like I think we're kind of acknowledging the same way that everybody talks about, well, it's a work in progress and we're growing and it's like blah blah blah, and people say not to get attached to anybody on this roster except for Devin Vassell and Victor Wembanyama. Like when they talk about it like that, it's like that's all I'm saying is I'm not tied to Zach Collins. I can applaud him for his recovery process. I can applaud him for the work that he's done and for his production increases. Like I can applaud him for all that kind of stuff, and still know that he's not the long-term solution that we need as an NBA center. Like that's, you know what I'm saying? And maybe we pay him as a center for 2 years, 3 years, and then we say, okay, you want to stay? Great, we'll give you a little bit less money. You come off the bench. We got a new guy. You know what I'm saying? Maybe what we look like in 2 to 3 years. But it's just I think it's like the same thing I said before about Charles Bassey, about like how my excitement level can only be like capped when it comes to like our depth from the when it comes to our big men in general. Like my excitement is very, very capped, and the only problem with that is I don't really like it that much. You know what I'm saying? It's like I want to fix it.
Yeah. So I've genuinely been on the side of like, I think Zach Collins is fine. I like the way he goes at guys. He's not afraid to. It's just it is like eventually the talent thing where it's like, yeah, like sometimes he's just not good enough to secure the rebound, to box out like everybody. But at the same time, that's when I do get like, well, it's not just on Zach. Like we have a 7'4" guy who is just running the floor, and it's like we need a rebound. Like, can we help stop and get a rebound or something like that? And like it is not always on Zach, but I definitely like I've seen Zach was posting up and going right at Rudy Gobert like the other night. Like I'm fine with him, but I think like a winning like end of the game lineup, you're probably gonna want like a definitive like defensive big who can secure the rebound. And I don't know, like I do think it's gonna like you're gonna need a different type of big for like, because when we close games, our best lineups have been with Wemby at the 5 as opposed to Zach at the 5. So that's where it is like, yeah, like if you're already looking forward ahead to like a championship like team, Zach's not going to be on the floor for like the crucial moments. And he play makes, he can space the floor. He's literally everything you want from the second quarter to the third quarter, right? Like those minutes you would need from big. But yeah, like crunch time moments, things like that. I don't know if you guys could see the YouTube comments. PJ says, if we're able to draft a point guard and a center in the top 10 this year, Trey, Keldon, Zach would be the best unit in the league. The best bench unit in the league.
I definitely, I mean, you even add Malachi to that. You definitely add Malachi to that, and that's like, that's crazy, man. That could be like a really, really, really good bench unit in the league. I mean, we, again, with the way that like the league fluctuates, you never know. Like
that's all of our salary cap is going to our bench at that point.
just because of Keldon.
That would kind of be that would be crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Nerlens Noel, I was just looking, right?
Oh,
Nerlens Noel, I think, is a free agent.
So
he's 29 years old.
A guy like Nerlens,
that's your Tyson Chandler.
Yeah, there you go. That's a lot more feasible. But even then, Nerlens Noel is not Tyson Chandler. Tyson Chandler was
right.
like your all defensive, like.
Yes, but also there is validity to the small ball, and like you don't need to be as big and as anchorous. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be, even though like that's what I see in my head too, is like that lockdown big man center. You know what I'm saying? But there is validity to the fact that you don't got to be all of that.
To grab boards, just to play defense, play big and grab boards, like you know, just because you are talking about the Tyson and Dirk, like Wemby's are Dirk and Tyson Chandler like together. He is the lockdown guy, Like, and once he figures out, he just has to stand there and puts his hand up and not even jump. Like, all those fouls are gonna go away. Like, he's probably gonna get more blocks because they're trying him. Um, and then he could shoot like Dirk. We just need Nerlens to clean up the boards. Um, Jake, you were, I think you made a good point. You're like, well, if Wimby's crashing a lot, how Juan was saying, well, we got a 7-4 guy that's not grabbing the rebounds. I do feel like our number one option in the open court is Wimby. So, like, if he's crashing and gets 12, 15 boards a game, we're not having him run down the floor. You know what I mean? We're not going to have the fast breaks with him.
And think about that play you were talking about
kind of,
where go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just saying, we're kind of have to, like, hey, Wimby, go get the damn boards. Well, then there goes our fast. I mean, I'm not going to say it goes out the window because we still got Devin and KJ running that, and Devin could obviously knock down some corner threes when he runs to that short corner, or he can rise up. We've seen him take off a couple of times and throw it down. Same thing for KJ. We know he could poster some people, but yeah, you kind of got to pick and choose whether you want Wimby to get out on the floor, get out and run the floor and go get your points on the other end, or
when we were talking about rebounding though, like that play you're talking about where Chetty gets in the way and kind of muffs up the rebound. Like Wemby's coming to get that rebound from the 3-point line. You know what I'm saying? And he does that a lot, right? Where he's out there and he does try to kind of sneak in. So he is caught in that position where he's not using his body to try to box anybody out. He's just trying to reach over them. He's trying to reach around them, and like that's where his offense rebounds are coming from sometimes. And so it's like if it's happening like that because of where we have him on the court, we have him outside on the 3-point line or whatever, well then it does put more pressure on that center. Like you got to be the one, you know what I'm saying? Like it's got to start with you. So I don't know, that's just kind of like I like Zach Collins, his aggressiveness, like you said, like in the post on the offensive end, and he's been what we've been talking about, Jeremy Sohan, like he's been seeking out those mismatches when he finds the smaller guy on him. His post moves have looked pretty like in control. You can start to give faith to his little hook in the post and all that kind of stuff. Like all of that is good, but I mean, as much as people praise his offense, I would like for people to look at his rebounding and look at, is he strong enough to give you a crucial box out? And there's just many moments where like I get a little antsy. I don't know if he is, you know what I'm saying? And I don't want to feel like that for my starting center, like especially when we know that when Wemby doesn't really want to do, or we don't want to put him in the position to be like the banger, you know what I'm saying? So okay, so then somebody's got to do it.
You know what big I just thought of that I can't believe we didn't bring up at all for like the Tyson Chandler comp? Anybody got a guess?
That's out there right now.
Current player?
No, that kind of we could have signed in the off season.
Okay, so it is current player, like somebody that is.
Yeah, current player. Yeah.
Okay.
That we could have signed.
On the east or out west? You gotta give me confidence.
I just guess, man.
Why? Because it's Dwight Howard, but he's in China now.
No.
Oh, he's not in China. He's in Taiwan, or where is he at?
Yeah, something like that. No,
I have no idea.
I don't know, Bismack.
It is Tyson Chandler.
His name rhymes with Blockub.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I mean, we definitely could have paid Yak that money.
We could have got Yak back and had that center defender like combo. Now the offense would probably look a little clunky, but you'd have a big. You'd have a big man who could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Play the defense, and like you felt good about Jakob crashing the offensive boards and the defensive boards. Like Yak kind of would be good for this team. Now the spacing and stuff. If Zach can get back to that 37% clip 3-point this year, like hopefully that helps. But my problem is it's the same way people are over exaggerating with like the offense not working out. Like it doesn't matter how well we shoot, we can't stop nobody. Everybody's going off against us, and we can't get boards. And so like. It is like a trade-off where like Wemby needs to crash the boards and help. If that means he's not running the floor and we're already missing the guy anyways in transition, might as well go and get the board. Like we need to just start getting stops now and work on that as the season goes along. And that's, I don't know. Maybe the coaches don't care. Like Josh said, I think maybe you might have said it before the podcast started. Like Pop, they were talking about it in the New York game. Hubie Brown and Mike Breen, they were talking about like Pop is just gonna let the guys play, and then we're gonna work on things later on. Like hopefully that later on is kind of coming up because we're already 10 games in and like maybe
Again.
20 games in, we start to see some of that adjustments and different type of game plan. Um, but yeah, go
So
ahead, Jake.
so that's perfect because it leads right into this last thing that I wanted to get into, which is just like, I mean, we're talking about like how we have plenty of things to work on, and we do. But again, you look at game 1 to game 10, and we have made those like those improvements. I feel like we are a team that looks at exactly like you said, exactly like how Pop is, whatever. We're looking at these game to game, and we're like, okay, we saw what we messed up last game. We're gonna work on that this game. We're not gonna let them do the same thing to us that this other team did to us last game. You know, we're gonna make sure that we're continuously improving upon that. Like, not everything's linear. You know, some things go up, some things go down, all that kind of stuff. But it for sure looks like every time we go on that court, we are always one game better than what we were the last game. And again, sometimes the shots aren't falling. So yeah, like sometimes you're gonna have those nights, but you still look at what you can do from the night before and how you can improve to the night after. So other than Wemby, because we always talk about what we could do better with Wemby on the court and what we could do to make Wemby look better, to get him better looks, to make him look better on the defense, all that kind of stuff. Other than Wemby, what do you want to see improved this week? With 4 games. We went 0-4 last week. We have another 4 games this week. With 4 games, what do you want to see improved? Could be from a player, could be from a team standpoint, but it cannot do with Wemby because we have other guys on this team that are still looking to improve, and we already know what we want to see from Wemby. So, Chris, I'll let you start this off. What is one thing that you want to see improved?
I mean, if I can't say Wemby's name, it's a little difficult because it is like an interior thing, right? But that's kind of just what I want to see. I mean, we talked about it last week about like let me go back to the Spurs schedule. We talked about it last week where it was like when we face New York, they're going to be a little bit of a bigger team because they had Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson and Julius Randle, and it definitely gave us trouble, right? And matter of fact, Hubie talked about it a lot. Yeah, they're doing a good job of getting him off his spots. Watch the arm when he makes his move. You see them pushing him off of his line and blah blah blah. So just size giving us trouble. Minnesota has size. So I'm looking to Adebayo, right? I'm looking to like again, I'm just the same thing kind of we talked about the last time about how it's it was our first time seeing Miles Turner versus our new guys, like that kind of stuff. So I want to see how do we handle Jaren Jackson? Do we let him go off? Is he gonna have a breakout game versus us? You know what I mean? With a team that's like Memphis, who's kind of still reeling from their stuff, right? It's like, are we gonna give them some stability, and is it gonna come from the post again? And if that happens, like, I don't want to see that. You know what I'm saying? Yep. I don't want to see people get comfortable with us. Is Sabonis going to have a huge game because we just have no answer for him? We don't give him any pressure. And then the few times that we do get stops, are we not going to get, you know what I'm saying? So like literally the stuff we've been talking about for the past like 10, 15 minutes about rebounding and defense, that's at the top of my list. And it kind of has been at the top of my list since the beginning of the year. The offense is going to come whenever the offense comes, and we're going to make shots whenever we make shots. But can we always bring energy? Can we always try to secure the rebound or show that that's a point of emphasis?
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, that's like you're hitting on a lot of the points for just the team aspect of like what we need to work on. So I mean, again,
yeah, team defense, team rebounding. Yeah. That's what I want to see.
Exactly. Josh,
you stole mine right there at the end. That's what I want. Rebounding.
Yeah. Well, Josh.
Go ahead, Josh.
Sometimes it's real simple, right?
Yeah.
I talked about it earlier. I talked about it earlier. Like, I think that the San Antonio Spurs needs to do this week. I would like for them to try to play to the mismatches. You know, I feel like with Jeremy on the court, like we are gonna have good mismatches somewhere. Like, and I think it's up to our guys, to find them. So wherever they are, like we need to attack them. We cannot let people off the hook. Like we cannot. And And I think once we do that, I think we're going to be in a better place offensively. Because I think Victor and Zach are going to get some easy cleanup buckets. And I think that Devin and Keldon are going to get some wide open threes, along with the big guys. So, and then obviously Jeremy right in the post. So that's my. I hope that Jeremy could find his game this week in the post.
Who does Miami start at the point?
Kyle Lowry, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, that's a big boy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it is Lowry.
I don't know if Jeremy can.
But it is one of those things where, like, in normal years or in a regular whatever with a smaller guard, Lowry gets to use his size against you. You know what I'm saying? So if anything, it just kind of negates that. Hopefully, we just don't let him get going. You know what I'm saying? We might not have the opportunity this game to post him up. You're not really gonna be trying to post up Kyle Lowry, but if we can just hound him, make it to where he's not comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Like.
Yeah.
He's not used to. He can't back down Jeremy. You know what I'm saying? Which will be good. That's good for us. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
another. That's another way
Speaking
of
Kyle Lowry,
exploiting size.
The whole Skims thing with Kyle Lowry was making me laugh.
Oh
I
man.
missed it. I missed it.
Well, so the NBA partnered with Skims, which is an underwear brand.
Yeah.
And so then they were like,
Kim
Kyle Lowry
Kardashian.
and Skims, that's the unstoppable duo. Like,
It's like skin tight, you know,
Yeah.
under stuff. So it was funny. I was just gonna say, we got Miami, OKC. So if Josh Giddey's a pretty big guard himself, and Shea,
Kyle Lowry is 6 foot tall.
but like backing him down.
He's
But
well.
he's
He's
physical.
well known for using. He's
Yeah.
well known for using his size and
I'm just
and his
saying,
body as his. You know.
I get that. But Jeremy is 6'8".
Well, it'd be a good test. We'll see. We'll
It's a
see
good
like
test.
what Jeremy can
Like,
do.
I
And
get
then
that. And
Because
Jeremy
Kyle Lowry's
is
no
not
Mike Conley.
But he's not. Jeremy is physical. Like he is.
yeah, that's what we're
And I
saying.
would love-
But
and
even
that's what I'm
like
saying. I
a-
want.
We're saying it's gonna
it
be
doesn't
a
even-
good test. It's gonna be
Yeah,
a
it
good
doesn't
look
have
at.
to be a. I mean, if who knows if Jeremy puts Kyle on his back and he gets some cheapy fouls, like I'll take that.
Yeah.
Get Kyle out of the game and then go at. I couldn't even tell you who's their backup point
So
guard,
it's
but like
Miami, Kyle Lowry, OKC, Josh Giddey, Shea, and then De'Aaron Fox in
Right.
Sacramento on Friday. That'll be a good size matchup. And then Memphis. I don't know if they start Marcus Smart at the 1 or who they're starting at the 1 without Ja or Tyus left. So definitely some good matchups for Josh's point.
for,
Like
for Jeremy, yeah.
yeah, for Jeremy.
Well, Josh is huge. Giddey's.
I mean, yeah,
a big guy.
Giddey's big.
Giddy's a tall
Yeah,
guard,
he's-
but
he's-
he's not like a big physical guard. Same thing with Shea. Shea's not like nothing.
That OKC
Memphis does start Marcus Smart.
Yeah.
at the 1. Yeah. So
And
that'll
Marcus
be
Smart,
good too.
yeah, Marcus
Same
Smart's
price
another
tag.
good challenge. Like he's gonna be a little bit shorter. Yes, no one's gonna be taller than Jeremy, nothing like that out there on the court. But like he's still a good defensive presence. So if Jeremy doesn't try to find his way into the post against a guy like Marcus Smart, well then what is he going to be trying to do? Because Marcus Smart's a good defender.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean sometimes it's just gonna match up the same way where like you just gotta be better than them.
Yep.
Marcus Smart they might not even have Marcus Smart on Jeremy because
Yeah,
of that.
we'll
They
see.
might have him on Devin.
On Devin.
Yeah.
And then what was the last
Then it'll
game
be Desmond Bain or what?
and who's
Wow.
like a physical dude, like a bigger guy.
Then I'll take Devin. I'll put Devin in the post too. Devin's a shifty guy when he tries to. Like he can knock down the mid range. He's good. He's the same way. I would do.
Yeah.
If that's the mismatch, then I would go that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's
The
a
other game
mismatch.
was Sacramento with De'Aaron
Sacramento,
Fox.
right? So then
Yeah.
with De'Aaron, to me that like what I don't really care about what that offense side looks like. I'm very 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 interested to see what Jeremy's gonna be doing defensively against a very fast and shifty guard like De'Aaron Fox. So
Yeah. But we should be good. Like because they have Keegan Murray and Sabonis, right, as like their 4-5. Like we should be able to find success there. You know what I'm saying? They're not that big. Like we are one of the bigger teams in terms of our starting 5. So like we should have paths to success. Miami, I'll just kind of give their depth chart since it's the most recent game today, and things can change in the next couple days or whatever. But Jimmy Butler is day to day and didn't play yet. They had a game last night, and Jimmy Butler did not play. Caleb Martin did not play, and Tyler Hero has been out for a little bit after a ankle thing. So no Hero tonight.
Yeah. I saw Jaime was dropping folks the other night, so be
Yeah,
ready for
nice.
that
He was starting
for that
already.
rookie for Jaime.
Nice. Yeah. So we won't see Tyler Hero tonight. We won't see Caleb Martin tonight, and then we'll see about Jimmy. We might not even see Jimmy. So.
All right, let's get a get right game tonight.
Yeah,
Let's go.
especially
Exactly.
three starters,
Hey,
three starters out, a lot of depth that they don't have right now. So
Exactly, and then on the big men depth, like they're looking at Kevin Love, Thomas Bryant, who we've already is Thomas Bryant the one who was like had the clip of him looking
yeah,
towards the bench?
looking at the
Oh.
looking at the video like
Yeah, so you know what I'm
That
saying? Like
barbecue chicken.
yeah.
Let's go.
we you know
Said
we
that
have
last
the
week,
rest.
it didn't bode well, so I'm gonna
Yeah,
talk about
exactly. I'm think that's exactly where my head was like. How are we talking about the Toronto game like a couple hours before it came out? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well, I won't predict. Actually, because Chris just said the rebounding at the end, I'll keep that little part short. I just definitely want to see us rebound. We're the 27th in the league. Let's just out rebound our opponents at least 3 out of 4 games this week. That's what I want to see. Like let's crash the boards. And then PJ had made another comment when you asked the question. He popped up and said, Keldon and Zach up their 3-point percentage. Nothing is gonna click with the starters until more than one dude can consistently space the floor. So like Keldon shooting 31%. I don't know what Zach is shooting, but like definitely those guys need to knock down their shots. That's another problem with the offense.
Get the open looks. Get the open looks. We're seeing missed layups. We're seeing missed open jumpers. A lot of that stuff happening. That again, to me, when I see Malachi miss a floater right now, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna have to live with it because it was a good look. And when Keldon goes to the rim, for the most part, unless I'm seeing him go against a 7-footer, I'm happy with Keldon attacking at the rim because he's good at it. But it's just not falling down right now.
But what makes up for missing good looks is good defense and rebounding. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So,
I don't want to predict anything. Last week, me and Josh said 3-1, and I felt good about it. I really did. But,
yeah.
I think it was Mike Finger. If Spurs Twitter, you guys know he's the one with the picture of literally his finger. He did tweet out like a halftime or something like that. He's like, it's starting to look like this Spurs team just might be good. And we were all feeling it. We're off that Phoenix high. We were up 20 against Toronto at half, and it's like, hey, we might be a good team. And we faltered. We went 0-4. So I'm not gonna draw any prediction. I just want to see some good wins or some good games. And if they are losses, at least be like the Minnesota game where you're competing, you're fighting to the end. Wemby's going for 30. Devin, hopefully break 30. We'll see what happens. He's cursed.
I know, man. I'm so frustrated. Like, yes, I wanted us to see that win, but I was just like, dude, why can't Devin get more than 29 points? Like, just ended with the
and they helped him too. They helped him.
I'll say with free throws, man.
Free throws, yeah.
I like this isn't a part of like what I want to see improve, but man, I was angry about them free throws in Minnesota. We had you have a close game like that, and you look at the free throw disparity, and you look at our percentages. I was upset. I was like, dude, there's no way. I think we were like 56% from free throws that night, and I was like, there's no way, man. If we're 70 just like they are, we're winning the game. So that's there was just one thing, definitely a team aspect that I want to see us improve on. The other thing that I was gonna say is seeing Jeremy in that half court set, just get those looks, keep facilitating, keep working on it, and keep trying to just find your guys. Like, it's gonna come to them, but that's like, I just want to see a little bit more improvement, just like how it's been from game 1 to game 10. Like, it's been a struggle, but I've seen improvement from game 1 to game 10 of Jeremy being the point guard. So, same thing, just from games 11 through 14, let's just keep seeing some improvement. And then this isn't like necessarily improvement per se, but if there's a chance that Trey Jones is out today and we're getting some Blake Wesley, most likely we're getting Devontae Graham minutes instead of Blake Wesley.
There you go.
But if we're getting anything of that measure, if we're getting a new bench look, I want to see what we're going to be doing to change up that offense, because you cannot be, no matter what, if you're trying to, if you're putting Devontae Graham out there, you're putting Blake Wesley out there instead of Trey Jones, you cannot be running the same offense, because those are not the same archetype of point guards. Those are not the same same type of people. You got to change
Well,
the scheme.
maybe it'll force Pop's hand, and you just run the offense through Wimby. You don't even have
Exactly.
to worry about a point guard.
Exactly. You do something. You do something. So that's like my next improvement is just like
Also, play defense. Stop worrying about the offense.
Yeah.
Well, yes, I heard everybody talk about the defense today, so I'm trying to bring up a couple things about the offense because
You see, as the
it's 2 sides
host,
to
he
play.
has to bring up points that are sometimes.
Sometimes I not allow my
So-
brothers to argue with me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's just the other thing that I was just seeing this week that I'm like, gotta see some improvements, right? But as we do
And
wrap
then
it up,
If the Cowboys could just win by like I don't know 40, 45, then we'll be straight.
I'll take that. I'll take that.
going against the Giants, right? So hopefully,
Sorry, Danny DeVito. I mean Tommy DeVito.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what is that guy? I feel bad for him.
He's just like me though.
yeah, I was just saying,
25 years old, living with his mom.
That's crazy, man. But as we
But-
do wrap it up, we gotta bring up the scoreboard from the week before, and we got lucky. Wemby saved us at the very end of the week. I know, Chris. I told I told them about it, and Chris had I told them about how Wemby had gotten his 29, his over. And Chris had sent the tweet from Malik Monk saying like, I don't care about y'all's parlays, and it's like, yeah, after an 0-4 week, like nobody was
Yeah,
really
we
gonna
lost.
be like, yeah, all that kind of stuff. But our tiny silver lining is the fact that we did get our 1-0 on that, as you saw from the scoreboard when it popped up. But this week, again, we want to focus on that defense, and we are the second worst team in points allowed. Like Juan had said earlier, we are currently what is it, Juan? What, it was like 124 points allowed, 124.
Yeah. Let me double check. But yeah, it's bad.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I can look at it right now again. Yeah, so we're currently 124.9 points allowed. So that is going to be our over/under this week. Again, we have 4 chances. To try to hold one of these teams, the Heat, the Thunder, the Kings, and the Grizzlies, to under 125 points. That is the line that I'm going to use it as. So, Juan,
Wait, so we have to pick one?
no.
Well,
Again,
so I
it's
think
same
I
thing,
think
it's
for,
the
I
week.
think for sure we're gonna hold a team to under 120 whatever 125.
Yeah.
You know what? You're
But,
right.
like,
Because
I'm
definitely,
taking
definitely
the
with
Let's do
the
the
over.
fact,
average.
with the
Yeah,
fact
let's do
that
the
I'm
average.
taking the over on OKC. OKC scoring over 120 points on us. Easy.
Well, okay, let's listen to what Chris is about to say real quick.
yeah.
I was just gonna say let's just use the 4 games. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, just use the 4 games and say, do we think that we're gonna bring that average down, or what I'm saying, where do you live there? Because
Okay.
same thing. Because I would agree. I think we're gonna have lower scoring outputs from Miami, from Memphis, and
Memphis,
then OKC and Sacramento have that possibility to be higher than 120. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Okay.
So
but
put the
we're-
line at like 117 or something, and if the average is going to be over
because we
117
want
on the week,
improvement. So let's make it a little below 120, whatever it was, 124.
Yeah.
125.
All right. I like that.
What is it,
Okay.
124?
Okay, Chris, you got me.
8 points to the 116.
So let me reformulate the question. Then. As Chris brought up a good point, we're gonna have it like different, right? So through the 4 games, we're gonna be trying to hold them to be lower than what we usually are. So now the point, like the line we're gonna have in my head right now is going to be 118. Okay, 118 points as the average on the week. So at the end of the week, I'll take the point totals from all 4 teams, average them out, and see if it is either over or under that 118 points. Okay, so that is how it's gonna work. That is how our points allowed are gonna work for this week.
What is our scoring?
Our
are we
scoring,
we're averaging 113 a game, and we're 16th in the
113?
league, so we're like in the middle.
Okay, I'll take the under. I'm taking the under on that.
okay. So you think that they're gonna average like the 4 teams totals are gonna average
Mhm.
under that 118 points this week? Juan, what are you saying?
Well, I've been preaching defense all podcast. I'm gonna take the under.
Okay,
I'll go with the under for sure.
and Chris.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that I hope that Memphis, Miami, and bits and pieces of the other 2 games in between are good enough to keep us under.
Yeah. It to me it's a little tough to try to say like if we're gonna go under or over on that because
Three of the games are at home. Just wanted to point that out. So just
we have
we
two of
kind
them
of
being the in-season tournament as well. That is something that we didn't necessarily touch up on. We had our first in-season tournament game, which was against the Timberwolves. So we're technically 0-1 for our like the qualifiers, I guess, is like how I'm thinking about it right now.
pool play.
Yeah, the pool play, right? And so we're currently 0-1, and we have two more games, one against the Thunder, one against the Kings. And I definitely think, I definitely think that we're gonna be trying to look better in those in-season tournament games. I think we're definitely trying to show that we are here to prove something. So,
And it's
Yo,
gonna
I
start.
like the court. Everybody talked down on the court. I liked it.
I like
liked
the
our
Spurs
court.
court. I like our Spurs court.
I liked our court with our white jerseys. Some of those teams had like
Mhm.
bright blue courts with
Yeah.
blue jerseys. It was just hard to see.
Yeah, I
But I
agree.
liked ours.
I talked about flipping the colors for like everybody and making it more uniform and all that kind of stuff. And I still think it should be more uniform across the league. But I will say that our court definitely was on the top of the list in terms of how some of the other courts looked. But yeah, I liked our court
No bias.
and the uniforms and the vibe and all that kind of stuff. It was good. I enjoyed it.
No biases. We're just Spurs fans.
Well, it was just
Well,
easier to look at.
Yeah, our
If-
our
It
our
was easier
colors
to
were
look at.
softer.
It was easier to look at. I agree with that. Like
If we had the bright red court, I would say
yeah,
we're
I'd be-
tripping.
I'd be
that
annoyed.
is bad.
Same thing with like that. It was like the purple and blue, I think, for the Suns.
Yeah.
That one, like I wasn't just the biggest fan. And somebody posted like a picture. It was like a pastry, and it was like a purple pastry with blue frosting on it. I was like,
Yeah.
But
Well, that
So-
that Tuesday game against the Thunder, it's the start of a good rivalry between. I think our
Between
teams
Chet
match
and
up
Wemby.
like well. They got a lot of young guys, and obviously Chet and Wemby. So hopefully on national TV on TNT, our guys show up because I'm sick and tired of
Yeah.
hearing.
well, I was gonna say you say our teams match up well, but it's like our teams match up well until they have an All NBA guard. Just playing.
Yeah, but we have the greatest prospect of all time, so
Oh, for sure.
I feel like that kind of balances out.
We'll see what that looks like. I'm excited to see what this week's gonna say. I'll probably go with the over. I'll probably go with the over because
I knew it.
yes, I know that we are on like our defense needs to improve, but I mean, hey, if our offense improves, you can just outscore the opponent. So but I'll just take the over
That
for
boy
the
Jake
week
D'Antoni.
to be a little different. And yeah, definitely right now I'm more in the headspace. Like I hear you guys on what we need to work on for that defense, and for sure the rebounding. I'm not disagreeing with that at all. But I definitely think that I'm kind of on that side of like, well, let's clean up that offense if we can. And again,
Pop
defense
said the
turns
same
into
thing what
offense.
Jake said. Pop said we need to focus on rebounding and scoring, or rebounding and defense, but we need to score more at the beginning of the games, or something like that. He said he did mention it.
See, so great minds think alike. I'm thinking offense right now. I'm thinking we're gonna definitely be trying to have a good bounce back week, whether or not they're wins or losses. So,
Hopefully.
but yeah. With that being said, Josh, I'll give you the floor real quick. If there's anything that you want to talk about, just to end it off.
Oh no, man! I just hope a better outcome this week. I was super high last week. We talked about it. I predicted 3-1. I predicted Wemby to get the over 2 times against New York and Toronto, and that didn't go as planned. But just looking forward to some Spurs basketball, and hopefully it's better than last week.
For sure. Juan, I know you already kind of told us off the podcast that you might not be able to be here next week. So again, if there's anything that you got for what this next week's gonna hold.
Well, I guess kind of like a last thing, we didn't really talk about the Wemby and the New York, the Garden stuff. I don't want to say the moment was too big for him, but it was just like, dang, like it would have been nice for him to have like the way they talk about it, MJ's like debut.
It just looked like the Dallas game. You know what I'm saying? We just took too long.
Yeah, and so like it was whatever. Like at the end of the day, like it doesn't really matter. I've never cared about like the Garden. Like, oh my God, like you had a performance at the Garden. I've never cared about that. But like I was kind of buying into that, all the like Wemby's debut at the Garden, and then for it to just kind of be a bummer, I was like, yeah, that's why I don't care about this crap. Like it doesn't matter. It's just another game, and like I don't know, that might be a little bit like our Spurs style, like compared to their New York style. But as far as like this week, yeah, I want to see some good games, some good development, and whatnot, and just let's keep growing. Let's get Wemby some easy looks early on, and like see if we can kind of start rolling from there.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, for sure. And Chris, any last thoughts on the week?
Yeah, I mean, anytime we have division matchups, those are circled in my calendar because they normally end up being pretty competitive, and it's just like, that it has the potential to be lasting, right? Because we see them every year. You get to know their rosters a little bit more in depth than like maybe some of the Eastern Conference teams that you don't ever see unless you go actually like seek them out and that kind of stuff. So excited for that Memphis game. I didn't really say it today, but I'm actually going to be going to the Miami game today, so I'll be getting a chance to see Wemby in
Jake's
person for
favorite
the
team.
first time. Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Eyes wide open,
So I'm definitely excited for that one to be able to see Wemby for the first time. This would be first game of the season. For me being in person. So energy will be up for me on that one. Just want to see improvement. So I'm looking to have a good week. Oh, and I'm just also trying to think, and I just need some clarification. So, were you calling Josh an old head earlier, Juan, when you said 33 years old, and then like a second after that it came out of your mouth? I was off. Dang.
No,
I just need to know.
I was just saying like
I think
it's kind of crazy that like you guys are just like Jake's
Who are
20.
you? Who's you guys? That's what I'm trying to
now,
see.
now
Like,
you're
that's
in the
how-
group too,
Oh,
Chris.
I'm getting
only a
close to
year
that.
younger.
I'm getting close to that feeling. Like Jake is a baby in my eyes. I still
Yeah.
see Jake as a
I think
little
all
toddler.
three of y'all are old heads. If we're being completely honest.
I see Jake as a toddler, and he's the same age as Jeremy Sohan. Like
No,
I'm older than
one's,
Wemby.
one's trying to be the young one. He's all fuck the garden. I don't mind.
No,
yeah,
man.
there we go.
Well,
But no,
that's
I'm good. Go Spurs, go.
Go Spurs.
yeah, no, for sure. That's exciting. That's exciting for Chris. Hopefully we do get a good game out of that one then, because I mean,
Well then, yeah, I hope we win by 40. That way you're there at the game and it's a good one.
exactly,
And
for
Wemby
sure,
goes
for sure.
across 40.
Got
Devin goes
like
for 40.
pretty much like three of my favorite players on a basketball court if Jimmy Butler plays. So, we're definitely.
ruined it.
I had to say something because Juan was, I know you guys love to make the Heat jokes, which again Jimmy's still one of my favorite players. So, but yeah, I mean, with that being said, hopefully
that's probably why Devin's cursed, because of you.
Yeah.
Because you have a
What are you
fan
talking
club,
about?
but then you like everybody else. You have a fan club, everybody else too.
Mhm,
Nah,
mhm.
no, I only have one. I only have one fan club that I'm a part of, and that is the Devin
Mhm.
Vassell fan club. But he'll break the 30 for sure. I mean we're already like, again, we're 10 games this season. He's already gotten the career high once. Let's hope that like the next time it's an actual career high and not just tying it. So, but
Right.
yeah. I mean, we got a lot of good Spurs basketball talk in. We have a lot that we're looking forward to. Hopefully this week does turn out to be better than last week, and I mean, we're gonna be seeing what improvements that these young guys can be making. But with that being said, I hope everybody does have a blessed and wonderful Sunday. Go Cowboys! Texas Tech Red Raiders won, like I said at the beginning of the episode, so we're hoping for another good W at the end of this week against UCF. We're trying to go bowling this year, and if we
You
do
better get it
lose-
done this week.
Yeah,
because
as I
it's
say,
not
we lose
happening
against
in 2 weeks.
UCF. I am not going to lie. As a Texas Tech fan, I am still terrified to go in Austin and try to beat Texas. But that'll also be a great game that I cannot wait to go to. So, with that being said,
Sorry to my girlfriend. She's a TCU Horn Frog, but Longhorns got it done.
Hey, kind of broke my heart when I saw Jalen Hurts and CeeDee Lamb. And
Yeah.
they were doing the horns down, and I was like,
And I was still wearing my CD Lamb jersey
get him off my
when
team.
I saw that, and I ripped it off, and I was like, what?
I mean, that's just the college ways, man. People are always gonna stay with the team that brought them up. So, but yeah,
You switched up.
Yeah, come on, man.
me. What do you
You-
mean I
yeah,
switched
you-
up? This is the team that brought me up. This team that brought
Oh
me
my
up.
god.
They bringing me
And
up.
don't forget, Texas State. Even though we lost last night, we're still the best team in Texas. So don't let Chris tell you otherwise. Don't let Jake tell you otherwise. Texas
It's
State.
crazy.
Eat 'em up.
That's
We're going
crazy.
bowling. Is Texas Tech going bowling? Because Texas State is.
Oh man.
Yeah, we're bowl eligible.
Is UTSA going
We're
bowling?
looking for that conference championship. We'll see.
Yeah,
That'd be
UTSA is bowl eligible.
It's
You're
good,
the
that's
only
good.
one here who's not.
Whoa! Why are we talking about Texas Tech not being bowl eligible?
Whoa,
They're
whoa.
going to be. They're going to be. But alrighty then.
Yeah, ramen bowls.
with that, with that being said, I hope everybody does have a good and wonderful, blessed day, and we are out. Peace.